The Christmas season, a time of joy, charity, and happiness. Every year we are confidently told that Christmas isn't Christian, it's pagan. I will show you every common argument used to claim this and how to completely refute them. Before we begin, I should explain how early Christians calculated the date of Jesus' birth. Early Christians thought that a person's birth date was 9 months after their death. So in 200 AD, when Tertullian proposed his crucifixion to be on March 25th, Christians counted forward 9 months and arrived on December 25th. Now that I think about it, just knowing that is enough to refute this argument. 1. December 25th comes from pagan festivals. This argument claims that Jesus' birth date does not come from the Bible, and that the date is borrowed from pagan festivals. From this, they conclude that because Christmas was placed on a pagan holiday, it is therefore pagan. They usually assert this in 2 ways. Christmas is placed near the pagan festival of Saturnalia and borrowed traditions from it. Christmas is on the same date as Sol Invictus and also borrowed traditions from it. The first argument claims that Christmas comes from Saturnalia. Most people you'll come across will argue for this based on the similar dates. However, this is flawed because similar dates do not mean they are the same holiday. Saturnalia began as a single-day celebration and was later extended to a week. Some people say that Saturnalia was celebrated by decorating evergreen trees, but we have no record of this. Modern Christmas trees did not appear until much later. Others may argue that the custom of giving gifts on Christmas was taken from Saturnalia, but there is no evidence of a direct connection. Giving gifts, especially during holidays and festivals, is an extremely common human tendency. It is also possible that this tradition took inspiration from the Magi bringing gifts to Jesus. Christians are often accused every single year of having placed Christmas on December 25th in order to co-opt the success of pagan festivals, particularly Sol Invictus, an influential sun cult strongly promoted as the Roman sun god by Emperor Aurelian in AD 274. This viewpoint was celebrated by certain 19th century German philologists, such as Hermann Jussener, as evidence of syncretism in early Christianity. This approach was later titled the History of Religion's Thesis and became an influential narrative lens in the 20th century for Christmas dating. While the Catholic Church did not oppose the idea of taking gold from Egypt, that is, repurposing something pagan to serve Christ, just because a scholar said something does not mean we should immediately assume it is true. The main piece of evidence for the Sol Invictus argument is the chronograph of 354, which contains the first uncontested evidence for Jesus' nativity being celebrated on December 25th. The problem with this is that modern 19th century interpretations of the chronograph could have been influenced by confirmation bias, which means this argument is undermined by the fact that sun worship predates Emperor Aurelian. Solar-related imperial vows or games tended to occur on August 8th, 9th and 28th, October 19th and 22nd, and December 11th, rather than on December 25th. If Christians were trying to co-opt the success of solar festivals, why not simply choose one of the above dates? One could argue that there was not sufficient need for the Church to introduce a novel date in the first place. When we look at the chronograph itself, it does not say Sol Invictus, but instead reads Navicti, XXX, often pronounced as Natalis Invicti, Circenses Mrs. XXX. According to C. P. E. Nothaft, we don't even have enough context to know whether the Invictus referenced here is a celebration of the sun god at all. It is possible that pagans were attempting to supplant the celebration of Christ's birth rather than the other way around. While the chronograph remains the only uncontested date, there are other sources that nudge us in this direction, such as works attributed to Hippolytus, despite being textually disputed, and Julius Africanus. 2. Christmas tree is pagan. Out of all the symbolism for Christmas, nothing compares to the Christmas tree. Nothing says Christmas like a decorated pine tree with gifts under it. Unfortunately, historians are not absolutely sure where the Christmas tree originated, and there is no record of it being pagan. Decorating with evergreens was a similar practice, but not the same. The first depiction of a Christmas tree comes from 1576 in Alsace, France, from a sculpture of one on a private home. Some attribute the Christmas tree to Martin Luther. However, he is only credited with the addition of candles to the tree, which was a major development in the tradition. Others attribute it to a legend involving Saint Boniface, in which pagans were preparing a human sacrifice under a sacred oak tree when Saint Boniface took an axe and chopped it down. The pagans, seeing that he was not struck by lightning, were in great awe and confusion when Saint Boniface pointed to a fir tree as a symbol of Christ. Cultural anthropologist Tanya Gulevich highlights a likely origin for the Christmas tree. In the Middle Ages, it was popular throughout Europe to perform an Adam and Eve play for their feast day. For this play, a tree was required, likely symbolizing the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Since deciduous trees were bare during the winter months, a fir tree was likely selected as a substitute and decorated with apples. It is possible that this is why many Christmas ornaments tend to be red, and could also explain why the modern Christmas colors are red and green. The proximity of the dates of Christmas and the play likely caused the paradise tree to become associated with Christmas. We have no record that fir trees, or any other conifer for that matter, were considered sacred. In fact, many pagans considered the oak tree sacred. 3. Yule is pagan. Despite being the third argument in this video, this argument is used far more than any other. That being said, it is also one of the easiest arguments to refute. Yule existed and predates Christmas, but early Christians were unaware of Yule when they placed Christmas on December 25th. In fact, Snorri Sturluson, writing in the 13th century, states in this paraphrased quote, "King Hakon was a confirmed Christian when he arrived in Norway. He had it established in the laws that the Yule celebration was to take place at the same time as it is the custom with the Christians. This means that Yule was moved to coincide with Christmas, not the other way around. All modern Christmas traditions, such as kissing under the mistletoe, have nothing to do with ancient paganism and instead come from later European folk traditions." 4. Christmas isn't commanded in Scripture. This fourth argument states that Christmas isn't commanded in Scripture, meaning that it doesn't belong to Christians. However, this is extremely flawed. Just because something isn't commanded in Scripture doesn't mean we can't celebrate it. Some early Christians, such as Origen, were opposed to celebrating the birthdays of martyrs and Jesus because they associated such celebrations with certain pagan customs. Jesus' birth may not have originally been celebrated on December 25th, but early Christians placed it on that date as his birthday. In conclusion, if you use this argument, you are ignoring history and are uneducated. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. God bless.